So what about your role in the research park in this entrepreneurial ecosystem here?
I tell people the easiest way to understand what I do is that I'm a connector of people and an integrator. I think officially my title is Director of Marketing and Business Engagement or Development, something like that.
Oh, I think you need to come up with a new funner title.
Right? I actually bridge 3 organizations, so the economic development effort for the university, the Startup Factory, and the Research Park. So base marketing for all of them. But the really fun part about it is everybody who needs help or sends anything in through the website, I get to talk to them. So I hear about all sorts of wild ideas from all sorts of people, and then I try to match them up with who is appropriate, whether that's a single person who's been sitting on something for a long time, established company that maybe needs a service like something that Cirrus could offer, or a very large company that's having pain in a particular area. And so I'll run around the university and try to find the right partners. If it's entrepreneurs, it's perhaps looking them up with programs where they can get funding or entrepreneurial support. It just depends on what they need. So that's particularly gratifying. I run all of our student engagement here at the Research Park, so manage all of our students that help us to be successful. We're a pretty lean organization, so they're just absolutely vital and imperative part of our success.
So you get to access some talent for a good price.
Yes, absolutely. And train them up. I wish I could hire about 90% of them, but most of them we send off to do really cool things, and then I get to tell their stories as well. And then the other piece of it is creating events and ways for entrepreneurs and the people who live out here to find one another and to be successful. So lots of collision sorts of things. Some of it's just fun stuff. Some of it's very targeted in specific areas. Just kind of depends. Like to do more and more of that with partners because it makes it easier.
I think we should at the Ag Entrepreneurship Initiative too. When I first, even before I'd started at Iowa State, I spent some time in the Bay Area of California and talking to some old friends and so forth. And I was visiting with a professor at Stanford who's associated with one of their entrepreneurship programs. And I was just asking about the role that Stanford plays in this crazy ecosystem of Silicon Valley, and he thought about it for a moment. He said, well, I think what we do at Stanford is we put on conferences and events where people over coffee or beers break their non-disclosure agreements and create the next great ideas. You know? And I thought, I can maybe do that too. That doesn't sound hard, but that it can be that simple sometimes.
It is, and it's an imperative part of our success. This building that we're in has really helped with that a lot. It's meant to be sort of the epicenter of the research park, and it's busy every day. And so that's facilitated a lot of that happening sort of organically, which has been really nice. Part of a broader vision for the research park. This building is surrounded by the commercial amenities, so it's a high traffic area. There's a lot going on. But
a building that the state legislature supported developing.
Exactly. It was a vision that President Leaf pitched to the legislature, and it's a pretty wild idea at the time. I want to put all of the economic development people in one building when they were spread all over campus previously. And it's been a journey. We've been in here for 2 years now, and we work together every single day. It's like there was never a time where we were all apart. Those of us that were here before remember what it was like before. And I think it's only going to get better over time. We'll continue to find more ways to collaborate with one another and be efficient.
That's great. So what do you think some of the most compelling near-term and then maybe longer-term opportunities are for the research park as it develops for the entrepreneurial ecosystem here in Central Iowa?
Near-term, for the research park, we're in a space of great momentum, so we need to continue to capitalize on that. I think there's a great opportunity for this community to continue to take the vision that was set by the folks that ran this place before I was even in this role, and the people who conceptualized it, but to grow the community alongside it. And I think longer term, I think there are lots of ways that we can continue to be better. One of the things that really struck me when I moved back here from Northwest Washington was how divided everything was throughout not only our own organization, but the state. When you look at the population of Iowa, and then you look at like a metro area like Seattle, it's like that's probably bigger than our entire state population, right? And yet even within our own organizations, I think there's just scrappy people working really hard doing things, and we tend to not look out over our own shoulder to see what everybody else is doing and to work together. And so I think long term, we're getting better and better at that, and that there's just great opportunity for this regional approach to really come to fruition. It's happening more and more between the corridor entities that are working on behalf of entrepreneurs now, I think, but I think we'll continue to do more and be better, and then that will raise our visibility nationally, because there's just that many people needed to have the sort of success that I think a lot of us want to have here.
So is it a matter of just looking up? Because I agree. I mean, we have this shared sense of Iowa identity, yet sometimes even between Ames and Des Moines, it doesn't seem like we're working together as effectively as what we can. Or I remember once when I went to Cedar Rapids to see a friend of mine who's a great entrepreneur and community builder there, and he thanked me a lot for making the long trip to Cedar Rapids. And I said, you know, it took me 1 hour 40 minutes, 1 hour and 40 minutes to get from my door to your door. And I said, sometimes when I'm in the Bay Area, because we're both technology people, it takes me that long to get from Palo Alto to San Francisco, and it was a whole lot more pleasant drive. So anyway, happy to be here, but we can work on things between Ames and Cedar Rapids or whatever.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? I think there's some part of that where when I moved back here and I'd done that LA commute, I was never going to do that again. And so 10 minutes is my max, right? Like if I have to drive further than 10 minutes, then I might as well be in Denver, or I might as well be wherever, right? And that sort of infiltrates into our day-to-day lives and sections us off from one another. I mean, I don't think that if you sat down and talked with all of the people that we could identify between the two of us as involved in the ecosystem on a statewide level, every single person would have in common, I believe, just this idea that we all feel the same way. It's more we just put our heads down and we work really hard, and we forget that there are all these other people that perhaps a rising tide could float all boats.
Yeah. And maybe some other people would be really interested in helping and learning about what you're working on.
And we would attract more people because that collective voice. But
yeah.